Okay, so we should be going live on everything now. As usual, I'm just going to slowly start since we're going live on quite a few different platforms today. For everyone who's joining us, we are live on SASA's YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, and Travelusion Tours Instagram, hopefully if it's working today. So you can find us on any of those platforms and find the recording saved there too. So I will just get started with the intro as we slowly go on to everything. Sage, let me know if there's any issues though. So we're here for Destination Ancient again today, which is SASA's Archaeotours. This is the last of our series with Travelusion tours. So we have Lillian here with us, and then our friend James, who is from Leg 2 Augusta Reenactments. So we'll be talking about Roman reenactments today and looking at a bunch of really cool kit and stuff. I was just looking at it, I was like, whoa, it looks so dramatic. Really quick, what is SASA? SASA stands for Save Ancient Studies Alliance. It's our mission to reverse the current downward trend in the study of the ancient world by engaging the public and bringing together students and scholars to share their passion for the study of the ancient world in order to inspire a vast new generation of students. So of course we do this by doing these kinds of live streams, lots of other fun live streams. We have Archeo Gaming on Fridays, which we have some big guests coming up and some fun things this Friday. And then of course we do research on the downward trend. We have an open access database and a million more things. It's actually going to be our birthday fundraiser coming up in a few weeks. So check out the events and things we have going on for that. And please consider donating, which I'll talk more about in a second. You can find SASA by searching Save Ancient Studies Alliance on basically any social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Discord, LinkedIn, etc. Please make sure to like and subscribe to our pages. Some protocol for the event. We really want to hear from you in the chat. We're here to answer your questions about all the stuff going on about reenactments that we're talking about. But please make sure to be kind and respectful and be patient with our technology. Things are probably going to go well today though, since we're all on Wi-Fi. And then again, these are going to be, the recordings will be saved on the platforms where they're streamed. So last but not least, again, if you like what you see from SASA, please consider becoming a recurring donor. You can do this directly on Twitch or on our website through PayPal for as little as $3 a month. And this really helps us to pay our interns, the great experts that come on, pay for subscriptions to things, to do these live events in general, and keep SASA running because we are a nonprofit. So with that, I will hand it over to Lillian and James, and thank you guys for coming.
Okay, awesome. Well, you're not gonna see me much today. Not that you normally see me much in any case, because I'm normally on the other side of the camera. But my name is Dr. Lillian Cespedes Gonzalez. I'm the CEO here at Travelusion Tours, and today I'm joined with James, who is one of the Roman reenactors from the Leg 2 Augusta reenactment group here in Hampshire, in Portsmouth. And he's gonna be showing you what it's like to be a Roman soldier. So I'll be monitoring the chat, asking questions, and essentially help you know more about what he does. And James will give you the whole expertise about everything that has to do with the Romans and war, soldiers, and everything else. So that's how we're splitting things today. I will also apparently be used as a dummy for some weapon demonstrations. So please, yeah, don't worry, I'll be fine. It's all health and safety check. And I'm gonna pass you over to James now. So James, if you could please introduce yourself, what you do, and what we're gonna be seeing today.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm James. I'm, as Lily said, a member of Leg 2 Org Reenactment Living History Society. And today I'm just going to give you a very short look at soldiers or Roman soldiers in the 1st century AD-ish, and just go through basically all the random stuff, all the shiny stuff that I'm wearing right now. So the Roman soldiers, they were regarded as one of the first kind of professional armies in history. They started out, it was a profession. So in the 1st century AD, conscription was still a thing, but generally, if you wanted to join the army, you volunteered to do it, and it was your job for about 25 years. In this time, you'd learn different skills. You'd be doing different roles. You wouldn't just be doing fighting. You'd have engineering.
Hold on.
Nope.
Is it working now?
Yeah, Lillian. So we're live on all of SASA's channels, but it didn't work on your Instagram, and I don't know why.
Don't worry,
So,
no worries. That's fine.
yeah, guys, sorry. That's why we just paused for a second, because we just realized that it's not working on Travelusion Instagram. So please feel free to share it there. And thank you, everyone who's joined us to our pages. The recordings will be on Travelusion's Instagram too.
That's right. Cool.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah. So they would learn different skills. They'd be doing different jobs. It wouldn't just be fighting. They would be building things, building roads, building fortifications, long-term forts. That would actually turn into a lot of settlements, particularly in England. And they'd leave with a pension. They'd leave with a plot of land or a payoff. And it's very much like the military in modern day. They'd go in as complete recruits, they'd learn new skills, and they'd come out and they would adjust to civilian life. Roman soldiers would adjust to civilian life at varying degrees. But the soldiers originally were pretty much just farmers. So the idea was in Rome, in her kind of Republican period, or in like the early mid to late Republican period, the soldiers were just effectively militia. They were soldiers, they were farmers, they got conscripted in to serve either about 30 years or 16 campaigns. That was their period that they had to serve. They had to join up to the army when they got called. After that, they could retire and live happily. But as the Roman Empire got bigger and as Rome expanded, it wasn't just as simple as having farmers from Italy going off and serving in Asia Minor, in Greece, or in Spain, or even in Gaul, because these are vast distances away now, and people weren't able to just go over there for the summer and come back and tend their farms. So things had to start changing. So Rome had to start having people in the army for longer than just a campaign at a time. And that pretty much evolves into it becoming now this full-time profession that comes under Gaius Marius, who is very famous for transforming the Roman army into what was this kind of farm militia force into this professional army where everyone has the same kit, everyone has the same equipment, and you're in it for that period of time. So what I'm showing today is an interpretation of that soldier. So this is a modern interpretation. I'm not pretending to be a first century soldier. I'm not pretending to be anything like that. I'm not saying that what I'm wearing is all historically accurate. That doesn't exist. I am a modern interpretation based on current archaeological finds, academic discussions, and basically what we kind of know at the moment about soldiers. So
now that James has given you this introduction, guys, we're going to start talking more about the kit. We're going to go from the top to the bottom. So if you have any questions as we go along, please drop them in the chat in any of the channels so we can address your questions directly. Otherwise, James will just carry on talking about every single individual part of the kit. So tell us, what are you wearing and why are you wearing this?
So everything I'm wearing is effectively standard for the soldier. This isn't anything special. Even the great big kind of plume that I'm wearing, the crest here, all this is kind of pretty much standard for legionary. So I said about everyone got kitted up the same. So everyone in a legion was mostly kind of really heavily armored. When Rome was going up against Iron Age tribes, things like mail armor, yes, the Iron Age invented it, the Iron Age people invented it, but only the really rich and powerful in society owned a mail shirt, owned a really nice helmet, or owned an actual sword. These were like the elites of society. When the Roman army came along and they were fighting Iron Age people, each soldier was almost carrying more wealth on each individual person than an Iron Age person may have seen in their entire life. So we're talking about kind of a lot of really prestige here, even though this was basic attire for the Roman army. All this kit would be mine, or would be the soldiers. So when you joined the army, you got given your kit. You didn't have to buy anything outright. but you owned it, and they took a proportion out of your salary, out of your yearly salary, as a kind of loan. But what it meant was when you finished your time in the army, you actually owned your kit. So you could either keep it or you could sell it back, whichever. Again, there's different accounts of people doing different things. But to begin with the helmet up top, so I'll start at the very top here. I've got my crest, or the crista. This is, now there's a bit of, there's a kind of misconception with this. Everyone kind of thinks that this would be made out of horsehair, and that's a lot what Hollywood and movies, games tend to go for. There's actually been only very rare finds of these found. One of the only ones found was in Britain. It was actually made out of woven bog grass. So we're not talking about anything fancy at all. And this is actually really important for the crest, because although I'm wearing a really fancy one, we also have written evidence for, and even it even appears in some of the visual culture of literally like little tufts coming out that looks like just pieces of grass. And some of the accounts is that when soldiers had to go on parade, they would just grab tufts of grass, stick it in there just so they have something sticking out. You could also have feathers down the side or across. It could be pretty much anything you want. It's all about show, and it's also about making myself look bigger than I am as well. So if you've got an army that's marching or on parade, they've got to look grand, they've got to look imposing. Nice way of doing that, just psychologically, is make yourself look as big as you can. This is effectively my peacock kind of feathers. The colour as well is down to basically interpretation. We often think of Romans wearing a lot of red. There's not that much evidence for red. If it was red, it actually may have been more of like an off colour, like a rusty kind of colour, which was a cheaper, like a poor man's red. But red, we like to think of blood. You know, if you're wearing red, I can't see you bleeding, all of that kind of, again, Hollywood game kind of stereotype stuff. What very likely is that this wouldn't have been worn in battle, simply because it's absolutely next to useless. This is sitting on my head, and your head, if any of you do fighting, you know that your head's the most important thing. Exactly right. If somebody puts their sword or even a spear in there, they've got immediate control of my head. I'm getting disorientated. Also, when you're trying to do formations, and we've worn these trying to do the testudo, or like the tortoise formation, where you have like a shield over your head. If I try and put this over my head, it's just really unencumbered, so I haven't got a lot of control. It's overbalancing, and it's just a pain. So if there was any kind of fighting, again, we don't see these in a lot of iconography. In battles, it's always just bare helmets. On the helmet as well, so the helmet itself, you might see here it's got some eyebrows. If I can get it in the camera. Yeah. This is partly decoration, but it's also partly to reinforce the helmet as well. So it's extra strength. So if I was going to get it hit here, it's just making sure that my head doesn't get cleaved in. Same with the brow band as well. Now it got a bit of a dual purpose. One possibility is that it helps stop the blade kind of coming straight down across my face. But also remember, it could be that I'm really up close with the enemy. Romans like to get really up close. So it could be I could just give it a very nice little headbutt into the guy as well. I've got the neck guard at the back. Again, it is what it does what it says on my tin. It's to protect my neck. This, you might be wondering why. One easy part of this is that the Roman soldiers always, especially against Iron Age tribes, they always described them as being a lot taller than the Romans. Things like the Britons or even people from the Netherlands, they were described as like actual giants. So if you think about it practically, if I'm looking at someone who's bigger than me, I'm going to be looking up. Now, when I look up, I'm immediately protecting my neck from any kind of sword or spear or whatever they could try and get in down the side. Cheek plates are protecting my face. Also, I've got really, it's not covering my mouth at any point, so I can breathe really well. The chin strap is just under my chin. It's not pressing on my throat. So I can still breathe, I can still shout, and everything else. I'm not encumbered in terms of that. One of the most exhausting things about fighting is running out of oxygen. So this just ensures that I can get as much of that as possible. Romans were a bit, they had a thing about ears. They kind of believed that when you were born, you had your soul going through one ear, and then when you died, it kind of left out another. So normally we actually find a lot of really nice ear guards on some of the helmets as well. Even just generally, you don't want your ears chopped off. If I go down below the helmet, I've got this scarf thing on. Now this is called a picale. This is, again, dual purpose. It is a scarf, so it can keep my neck nice and warm in the winter and in colder climates. But also, this armor isn't particularly comfy. This is male armor I'm wearing here, but if I was wearing something like the segmented armor, it can be that the metal plates actually start scraping against my neck. So this also helps just protect my neck a little bit. As you can see as well, the chin straps are over the picale, so it's just stopping anything kind of pressing in, getting really uncomfy on my neck. Again, you could be wearing your helmet for quite a while. You don't want anything getting too uncomfy. Down below then, I've got the main piece of the male armor. Now, this is what we call larica hamata. Now, these are all individual iron rings. This is all handmade as well. And it offers really good slashing protection. Not necessarily piercing, because you can see there's still little gaps. So arrows and even kind of stabbing swords like the gladius can get in quite easily. This is one reason why the civil wars are often described as being very, very bloody and violent, is because all the soldiers are basically wearing armor designing to protect them from slashing weapons, but everyone's using primarily stabbing weapons. I've got these shoulder protections on the top. Again, it's just to try and protect my shoulders from any kind of sharp or impact blades coming out. This around the back, it's just pretty similar, pretty standard around the back. It's, again, like I said, it is designed for a slashing one. So we have tested this armor and stuff, so absolutely fine. In fact, you can kind of hit all day and you're absolutely fine.
Just so you can see it with a bigger weapon.
There we go. Underneath it, one reason why I can take it a little bit is because underneath it, I'm also wearing padding as well. So there's not a lot of evidence for the padding, but we do see it in some iconography and in some of the visual culture. We see normally when a soldier's bending over, you can kind of see like this almost like vest thing between the tunic and the armor. Reason we're wearing this is the sword hasn't got to be sharp to do any damage. It's just got to basically break the bone. So even Iron Age swords, quite a few of them have no sign of ever being sharpened. They're just a literally blunt instrument that you just want to whack someone with. So the padding, as well as its extra layer, just helps me try and absorb that shock impact a little bit more. I've got on the armor, I've got this quite fancy belt. So I'll see if you can see it properly. Yeah, you see the dangly bits? Brilliant. So the belt itself, it's holding my gladius, my sword, and it's holding a bugio. It helps keep everything nice and tight around the armor. And in fact, it's pressing in on my hips. And I want that because when it's pressing in on my hips are the ones taking the majority of the weight from the armor. There's not actually anything going through my shoulders at the moment. So it means that I can just wear it for far longer. And again, it's all about that comfort aspect. I'm not kind of wearing myself down from what I'm wearing. The dangly bits on here, if I'm honest, we haven't got a clue what they are. We don't know. There's different interpretations, different arguments. One theory is that they were for show and that they were just trying to stop soldiers from sprinting and running away, because if you can see where they're positioned, it's a little risk factor. However, we know that soldiers often did a charge, so we're not sure about that one. It could be that they are psychological protection. At least I've got something protecting me there, like a Roman little guard. I like to think that they're a mixture of psychological to the enemy, because they make some noise, they dangle, and all of this kind of makes noise and dangles. And if you amplify this by about 5,000 or so men, it's going to make quite a bit of noise, hopefully. The other thing is where you've got these decorations. Personally, I'm of the agreement that this is basically like war booty. This is loot that I've taken. I formed it. I'm managing to carry it on myself. If I go into a town or settlement, I can sell this to somebody, and basically I'm carrying my work, my personal work around with me. Same with the plates on the actual belt as well. It's very stylized. This is not anything special. This isn't like an officer's belt or anything else. It is typical legionary But again, the idea of I can get these formed onto my being, and I'm just carrying my wealth with me. On the belt, I've got my pugio. Again, different uses of what this could be, what this could be used for. Letting Lily show it there. We know that the Romans fought very up close. Well, there's definitely accounts of them fighting really up close, and there's some accounts that described it as being so up close they couldn't even draw their swords. They had to rely on the dagger, the pugio. So it could be that this is for ultra close fighting. It could be that if I lose my sword, I've got a second weapon in reserve. Also, if you're in camp, there's going to be a lot of cutting. You're cutting leather, could be cutting fabric, cutting meat, whatever as well. So it's got a kind of more utensil kind of use. Or it could be all three of them together as well. I like to think it's a mixture. It's a really handy thing to have. But the main sword, probably the most famous thing about the Roman army, is the actual gladius itself. Now, this is not necessarily a swinging sword. This is primarily a stabbing sword. So the main danger part is on the point. The sides would be sharp as well. And again, we have a lot of accounts of soldiers or the enemy suffering wounds, such as chopped off limbs and really nasty slicing damage. So we know that they would use them as slicing, but this isn't necessarily a sword that you would kind of like swing around like an Iron Age sword. It's not comfy at all to do that with. It's primarily, as I said, like a stabbing sword. And I'm not looking to get this all through an opponent. It's reckoned that you just need about a couple of inches or so of the tip. That's going to tear through skin, it's going to tear through flesh and muscle. It's going to make your body go into spasm from the pain and the shock. That's all you need. I can keep going. The guy behind me can finish off. It's why we've also got this kind of, this normally get like a round hand guard on many of these swords as well, to that help design that punching motion to help protect your hand, let it form into your hand when you go to punch. Along with the sword, the shield, the scutum. Now this is a nice chunky shield. It's curved, so if I hold it up this way, you should be able to see how angular it is. Two folds. This curvature helps protect my entire body, so I can get it nice and round. I've also got minimal movement, so if I need to protect this side of me, I just need to shoot it a little bit, and I'm nice and covered. The curvature as well should, in theory, help deflect arrows and other missiles and everything as well. So it's one reason why the helmet is also quite round. You see this in a lot of ancient helmets, Corinthian helmets, particularly Gallic ones and Roman ones, is for help to try and just deflect missiles or off the body. It's the same with the curvature of the shield. If you look where my hand is, it's very center. If you look where the boss is, it's very center. So it's protecting my hand. If you look at how I'm holding it, I've almost got like this fist shape. So basically what it also allows is, it allows protection, but it also allows a nice punch. So along with the sword, one theory into how combat was, it wasn't pretty, it wasn't stylized or anything else, but it was very effective. I'm going to punch this into your face, or I'm going to use essentially the rim of the shield and jab it into your gut or try and aim for your neck. I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to take you off balance, and then this is just immediately coming in and punch, stab, punch, stab. That's it. I haven't got to move the shield, haven't got to open myself up. I'm just punching you and stabbing, and then moving on and on. Now this differs from the swords of the Iron Age, because as I said, the Iron Age swords tend to be much more swingy-like. So this is more of a long sword. Now this hasn't got the main kind of sharp point that you see. So we look at the difference there. It hasn't got kind of a sharp point, but the Gladius has. So this was definitely more of a swing and slashing weapon. And again, the idea of the, so if I give this to Lily, you just try and come for like a lunge at me. Yeah, or just lunge straight forwards. That's it, straight forwards. And just block it off and stab him. So I'm continuing down. I've got the tunic. One of the standard things that anything recognizable about Romans is that we wore tunics. Again, this isn't the color red. One of the things I try and do is break the stereotype, try and dismiss common myths and misconceptions about the Romans. And again, the army did not all wear red. We actually have quite a lot of evidence for this kind of whitish, undyed material, mostly because it's cheaper. And again, this kind of misconception busting, the idea that Romans always just wore sandals. As you can see on the bottom, I'm not wearing sandals, I've got enclosed boots. Okay, we live in Britain, it's cold here, about 9 times out of 10. So I'm not going to be dressed like a summer. I mean, if I was outside right now, I'd actually be wearing trousers, I'd have a cloak on, and I'd actually look a bit different to what I'm looking now. So this is more of like a nice spring summer wear. Basically, the Romans, they would dress according to the climate. You know, that's that thing of if the locals are wearing trousers, there's a reason for that. Do the same as well. But this is basically the attire of a soldier, as I said, in around the 1st century AD. This is my interpretation of it. There are some things that can differ. There are some things that obviously there's variations in it in terms of different designs. If you're very interested, there are sites on. Oh yeah, I've got my talk as well. Thank you. Lily's pointing out my talk. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a talk. Actually, I take it off. You can show it to me. You might be wondering why I'm wearing a talk. I'm Roman. I'm not a Celt or a Gaul. This goes into a part of that. One reason why you might want to join the army is because you may have the prospect of gaining a lot of wealth from being in the army. And one of the things is post-battle loot. Again, we get it a lot in the sources of the soldiers basically taking the nice stuff off the fallen enemy, looting the battlefield, and basically wearing it. And they could be wearing it as a trophy, as a sign that they've beaten some big tough enemy in battle, and in fact dueling in the ancient world, in particularly in Roman battles, was quite prominent. So with the idea of a Gaul has stepped out and was challenging a direct duel, somebody from the Roman side would actually quite often accept that challenge, try and beat them, and if they do, they would normally take one of the spolia or spoil from them. In fact, the greatest kind of treasure you could take off a main chieftain or leader was called the oppia spolia, which basically is like the greatest spoils. So that's one reason why I'm wearing my talk. It's just an interesting talking point, and I like to pretend that I've beaten some Gaul and I've taken it off in where I haven't just bought it on Amazon for like 50 quid. So that's, as I said, this is my interpretation of a soldier. I hope that's been interesting. I'm aware that I don't want to be going over time or anything, because Lily's given me the hurry up. I could talk about this for far more. I could go into a lot more detail and everything as well, but I realise we've got.
Yes, with the last few moments of the proper stream before any more questions come through, it would be very nice if you could explain, James, how does this compare, like when you are actually doing reenactment, how does that affect you in your job as a reenactor?
So yeah, it's a weird term when you're looking at Roman, because there's not a lot of, you think of reenactment and you immediately think of battles, reenacting set military events or set battles. In Roman reenactment, in fact, we don't normally term ourselves reenactors. We're like a living history society. It's very difficult to do actual Roman fighting. It can be very dangerous. As I said, it's not a stylized way of fighting. It's a very efficient way. And this is even before I've thrown a couple of javelins at you, before I've charged and start punching you in the face with my shield. So it's a very dangerous style of fighting. It's not done. It's hardly done at all. And it's why a lot of people tend to go for the living history side. We're not reenacting anything. We're trying to authentically portray a period of history.
And in terms of you wearing the armor and all of that, is that authentic? Like the experience of you wearing all of that stuff actually compares to what a Roman soldier, or what we know of a Roman soldier, would have felt? Yeah, or does modern technology make some of those materials different in the way they are manufactured or in the way they would feel on you?
But everything I'm wearing is handmade. So you can take the modern manufacture out of it. It's almost in modern day, it depends how much money you've got. you can buy the handmade stuff, but it's going to cost a lot more than having something made by a machine. But in terms of experience, yes, I can authentically say this stuff is very heavy. There's factors that we have to take into account. People in Roman times, I have mostly a desk job. So I'm not out in the field working 24 hours with my bare hands. I'm not that built, I'm not that strong or anything else. So somebody would throw this on like a t-shirt back in the Roman day. Somebody in modern day may struggle or put it on and immediately shrug. So there's yes, authentically, I can get a rough kind of ballpark figure of this is like, but you have to be aware of your limitations.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, I believe that is the end of our time. So yeah, I think if there are any more questions from Lauren or the audience, then please send them our way. But otherwise, that's all of James's and my time. So thank you for that, guys.
Yeah, thank you. We didn't really get any questions in the chat, but thank you. It's very interesting. Unfortunately, it didn't go live on Instagram again, so I don't know what the problem is with Restream. We'll have to keep figuring that out, but the recordings will be posted everywhere else. It still went better than last time with going on to streams than last time. So thank you very much. This was really interesting. We should definitely do another thing where we were talking about different kinds of kit and all that kind of stuff before we started the stream. So it was really cool. And we have some other reenactment friends. So again, this was the last of our series with Travelusion. So Lillian, I don't know if you want to pop back in front of the camera, you can.
I was trying to not trip over a sword.
Right. Although we, of course, are going to keep doing more things with Travelusion. We absolutely love Lillian, and we have amazing ideas coming up, including cooking stuff, which is everyone at SASA's favorite. So stay tuned for all of that stuff. Like I said, we're doing Archeo Gaming on Fridays, basically every Friday at 2 p.m. EST. You can find us on Twitch, and then you'll probably see Travelusion doing something with us for the birthday bash too. So that's our next series of live events coming up. So I'm trying to think if I forgot anything, but thank you all for joining us. If you guys want to say bye too.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks.